welcome everybody to the last community meeting of the year. So that's great. It was a busy year for Argo, wrapping up a lot here. So just two announcements, and then yeah, we'll hand the mic to Wes for a cool demo. And yeah, first announcement is that we do have all the ArgoCon talks are live on YouTube now. So if you go to the ArgoCon website, looks like my browser doesn't want to keep this window open, but you can find all the talks in a YouTube playlist, which is quite handy. So I think we can find Jam's talk in here. So that's great. Yeah, where is yours? There you are. Nice. So yeah, go check out Jam's talk, Untangling the Threads. It's a feature that's coming out probably in the next minor or so release that my teammate Alan is working on as well. Introducing OpenTelemetry tracing for Argo workflows. Really cool talk there. A bunch of other talks on workflows are in here too. So yeah, had a really good ArgoCon. The next one is coming up already at the beginning of April in London. So we'll be reviewing CFP submissions soon and should have a schedule out in a month or two. So thanks to all who are volunteering on the program committee. That's really helpful. So yeah, we hope to see you there. Next announcement is we have a 3.6.2 release out. Where did it go? That's weird. Let's go back to here. Yes, so that's the latest. Yeah, really excited to get a couple bugs fixed in this release. Really, yeah, excited to have 3.6 out finally. Feedback has been positive so far, so I'm curious to hear if any folks on this call have used it yet and have any complaints. But yeah, we're staying on top of fixes as best we can, getting them released quicker than past 3.4, 3.5 releases. So trying to get those patches out, and yeah, really excited to have a new minor. We're already starting to work on the 3.7 roadmap. So if you have any features in mind, please just reach out to me on Slack. Happy to talk about those, or reach out to Alan and Isatha, my team, the PipeKit team, and we can collaborate to get features and fixes in upcoming releases. Great. Any questions on releases? Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, I guess with that, we don't have any other announcements at this point, so I'll hand it to you, Wesley, for your demo. Are you able to share your screen again?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, no worries. And yeah, thanks a lot for putting this together.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. My name's Wes. I've been developing with Argo workflows now for like 2 years. I've become at my company like the Argo guy because I got certified. Um, so yeah,
Congrats. That's
and
great.
I wanted to. I think ever since I started working with it, I just realized how flexible it is and how just all the different use cases and possibilities that it can automate or help, like in a CI/CD project or pipeline. A lot of different things. We're using all kinds of different workflows at my company, so it's yeah, it's really really interesting. So, anyways, I found an issue. I know it was probably way too old, and I think Alex Collins already did his own version of this, which I'm sure is way better. But uh, I still learned a lot, and actually, this was really in preparation for my next role. Sorry, let me see if I can. How do I go to my next? There we go. Yeah, so I'm a senior software engineer at Total Wine and More. You've probably seen us. We sell a lot of wine, obviously. Depending on the state, we also sell liquor and beer and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I work primarily on internal applications, doing like supply chain management, stores, merchandising, uh, purchase orders, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I had two really big projects with Argo. I'm still like upgrading both of them today, which is really cool. And I'm actually kind of excited about that distributed tracing because we were trying to implement open telemetry into the Argo workflow. And if that makes it easier, that would be great. So um,
Yes. Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, let's definitely talk more about that.
yeah.
Your use
So
case, that's exciting.
yeah, so I served in the U.S. Marines for 8 years. I was trained as a systems admin, and then I ended up serving abroad, doing security at embassies and consulates around the world. So yeah, I've been around the world a couple of times. Here I
Very
am.
cool.
Um,
Yeah, awesome.
motivation behind this, obviously, the issue was 2 years old. I just wanted to contribute to the Argo project. I've since been answering a bunch of questions in the discussion forum. So, uh, but this one was also kind of complex, which is kind of I really like complex problems that take a little while, more than a day to solve. So, um, yeah, like I said, I work with Argo workflows every day. I'm Kappa certified. And then this was to prepare for my next role as a DevOps engineer, learning about CI/CD pipelines and lifecycle, that kind of thing. So, yeah, the requirements for this workflow or for the CI/CD issue were they were outlined on the issue, but basically, having some kind of event, um, like a workflow event binding. Um, I, however, was not able to get that to work after many hours. So, anyways, I ended up setting my own Argo event source, sensor, and trigger up, which I've done before, and that worked great. So I actually do have like a little video demo on that later. So yeah, basically, build the CLI, building images, running unit tests, coverage, and then collecting the report, deploy to the cluster, and then run end-to-end tests. So that's the CI section. The next was to, yeah, just combine the CI and CD with an approval step, like a manual. So you say like, hey, we're going to deploy this to production or develop or whatever. Um, yeah, basically tag, push the Docker images, update the manifests, and then commit the manifests with the updated image tags, and then start Argo CD. I do have a short demo for that one also, which it's it takes a long time to run this workflow and set it up properly. And so, anyways, I have like two like little small videos just to kind of like demonstrate those. But for the most part, yeah, I got everything set up. It took me a while. I don't recommend running this on your local machine. um, so
Yeah.
although I got quite a bit of it to work. I'd say like 75% of it actually works on a local machine. So but then any of the resource heavy stuff, like, I put that in a cluster and um, production grade cluster, and did that, ran it there. So anyways, a lot of the additional configuration is not really like really wasn't in the issue at all, but I having known Argo workflows for a little while, I understand like how things work. So yeah, I had to do like, service accounts, secrets, roles, role binding. I did additional secrets for Docker, for GitHub, like personal access token, and then for Argo CD login network policy to accept, um, uh, logins from the Argo namespace to the Argo CD namespace. So yeah, that's kind of those were the requirements. This is what the completed workflow looks like, with the DAG, and I can't remember. I think it's like 13 end-to-end parallel steps. Um, and yeah, so clone repo, build CLI. Then I did create CLI and exec images in parallel also, and then ran end-to-end tests. Um, those are variable in how long they take, anywhere from, I think, like 5 minutes to like, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes, depending on the run. yeah, then approval, and then yeah, all the rest of the CD steps as well. So yeah, this is just like what it looks like. I'm obviously not going to play a video demo that demonstrates this entire thing, but I did want to just kind of show that it's kind of it's pretty cool. Like once it finally all runs. So
Yeah, it looks good. Nice.
and this was, and I forgot to mention, this was using the updated test matrix. So I think I have it in here. Well, anyways, this is just kind of like the results, um, the time, and then I just randomly like grabbed like a CI CD build from, I think it was just the CI build from just kind of a random commit. I think it was like within the last couple of weeks, so it wasn't too long ago, just for like a comparison. It was kind of interesting. I guess my workflow was pretty good because it beat it on a couple things, but other things not. And it was just really interesting to like see the difference and see how things were running. Like for instance, I think the CLI and the build CLI or for creating the image, like they're together in one step, whereas in mine they're separate. So it's just the requirement. So it was, I was going off of what uh, Alex had put in the original issue. So,
Makes
anyways,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, and cloning was pretty quick on GitHub
yeah.
Actions. That makes
Oh,
sense.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's like right there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
so yeah, this is the end-to-end results, which I also thought was really fascinating. Just having some things like a minute off, some were like 3 minutes, others were, basically the same. Um, but also just pretty cool just to see all that and then like the resources and everything. Um, and then I ended up doing um uh yeah, the CD step as well, which is all like pretty quick. Like I think the only reason the Docker tag and push is because I'm like actually installing all of the software um, on each container. So that is one thing that I'll talk about a little bit later. That was a little bit cumbersome and kind of annoying that I couldn't just install things once and use them for the whole workflow. But that's just how Argo Workflows works, and different environments. So yeah, kind of interesting. So the yeah, the total duration. I actually didn't pull a GitHub one for this one, um, because I couldn't find the CD section. I'm sure you guys run CD a little bit differently with releases and different things. So, anyways, at least for the CI, yeah, but basically the whole time was like, 37 and a half minutes ish. Um, and yeah, really, really cool. Like I said, I learned a ton on this, and I definitely think I will be doing much better than I would have if I didn't do this in my next DevOps role. So yeah, give me one sec. So yeah, the next thing, obviously, like what does this cost, right? So yeah, I calculated this down to like I don't know, 4 or 5 places, decimal wise, at least for computing resources. And then like this was running in the Azure Kubernetes control plane. So for CI end to end and then CD. So basically like, $2.18, right? Or 19 if you round up. Per run, like that's not bad. And I think I did watch Alex Collins talk. I guess it was at ArgoCon, and he said it was like around $2. So like for mine to be similar, that was also reassuring. So
Nice.
anyways, yeah. Um, I guess I could show. Let me show one of the.
One quick question. Was this with Spot nodes or just regular Azure nodes?
This is using like a premium subscription. I'm pretty sure the regular nodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so you could
So
have additional savings then if
yeah.
you configured Spot's node selectors. Cool.
Ah, okay.
But
Oh, you're talking
yeah,
about like
again,
node selectors?
Yeah, to run this
Yes, actually I was
on.
using those. So
Okay.
so yeah, I had like specific um like application nodes or pods resources. Yeah, I had those running. So yes. I
Cool.
wasn't familiar with the spot term, so
Yeah, sure thing.
so yeah, anyways, this next part I just wanted to like demonstrate the so I couldn't get the work let me rephrase. I did get the workflow event binding working, but I wasn't able to trigger it from GitHub because you have to pass the authorization bearer token, and GitHub doesn't provide those. Um, so, anyways, got that working locally, even in the cluster, that kind of thing. So, anyways, this is my uh, Argo events um, version of the same thing, basically. But basically, making a change to repository, you have a GitHub webhook which runs and then creates the workflow. I can stop for a second.
Are you you're showing the video? Because right now I'm only seeing the slides, so maybe Zoom needs to
Oh,
switch context.
hang on.
No worries.
Okay,
Yes, that's the video.
there we go.
Great.
So
Nice.
yeah, changing, something in the repo, then committing that. Then you have the GitHub uh, webhook event. So this will be the push, and then it creates the workflow. And I'll stop right here. Yeah, we have the webhook. This is the event source, which is basically listening to GitHub. And then we have the sensor, which ends up triggering the actual trigger, and then that goes to the workflow. So um, yeah,
Nice.
basically pretty simple, but also it was really cool to like get that running and actually like make a change and do like actual CI/CD, So just like anytime I do a commit on our regular uh, repos. So let me switch back. And then this actually, I will also show the other one just real quick for Argo CD because it was a little bit tricky to set up. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna just kind of soup forward a little bit. But basically, yeah, once it's running, the CD portion, this is after approval. Um, I'm building all the containers. This is the one that did updating the manifests. Uh, so those are the updated image tags. That's my Docker hub. And committing. Uh, and then start Argo CD sync. So basically, right, we're logging in to Argo CD and then telling Argo CD to sync using our new approved um, Git changes and apply those to the application. So yeah, last sync about a minute ago. So yeah, that was also really cool to get that up and running and, you know, have Argo workflows running in the cluster and then update it with Argo CD at the end, which was, uh, part of the requirement, but also really, really cool to like get working and then to actually have it, sync properly. So I'm going to switch back to our to my other, yeah, to my slide deck.
And that was the same instance that did the CI pipeline, was then at the end getting synced by
Yeah.
Argo CD. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah. Completing the
Just
loop.
just yeah, just for those demos, like I did a quick like I um jumped in like near the end. Just I didn't really want to record an entire 40-minute
Yeah.
run. So yeah, anyways, so yeah, total cost. And I just wanted to put together like a couple of other notes. So like areas for improvement on this one specifically, on the CI/CD workflow. So like one thing, especially in Argo workflows environments, I think it would be really useful to have like images with pre-installed dependencies. So Docker, kubectl, there's curl, even like a small, dependency like that is like reused in a lot of different things. So, and some of them take time, and especially like for the end-to-end ones, you gotta, whether it's K3s or K3D, you're setting up your own testing cluster within the cluster within Argo workflows. So it's like a whole kind of rabbit hole a little bit, but it would definitely save some time, especially for each end-to-end test, and then each of the steps or tasks in general. So that was kind of one thing that I had noticed early on. I think another something else that you could do would be to split the CI and the CD workflows, which I'm thinking a lot of organizations do anyways. So, and then um, having those call the CD one after the approval step, that kind of thing. So the other one would be security. So, making sure that like service accounts have just the minimum permissions and access, and that the workflows, are not we're using secrets as opposed to like hard-coded things, or like, anything like that. Basically, stripping that out and having config maps or secrets, and just using a secure environment, whether it's SSO or SAML, something like this. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that could be improved for sure. And then the resource cost optimization. Uh, I definitely think with like pre-installed images with the dependencies, that would definitely come down, at least for the cost and the amount of resources we're using. And there are definitely other ways, I'm sure, to bring that down as well. I think in Alex Collins' talk, they were talking about something called like vCluster, which is like kind of like a VM cluster and then you could put like multiple clusters
Yeah.
or something like that. Which,
Extra virtual
yeah.
Kubernetes control plane
So
that runs within a pod. Yeah.
yeah, so like that's something really, really interesting that I think would definitely bring the cost down. And then just, error failure logging. I have a lot of stuff in there, as well as I ported over some of the stuff from GitHub workflows. I'm sorry, the actions for the CI from Argo workflows, the repo. So yeah, there's definitely some things, and then there's another part where it's like it checks the different files that are changed, and then basically if say the docs are changed, then it's not going to maybe run some other things, or if certain files are changed, it's like we need to run this set of end-to-end tests, that kind of thing. So definitely a little bit more complex logic, and then there were a couple other like steps like Windows unit test, code gen, lint, UI, that kind of thing that could be added, but at least for the requirements, like this definitely covered everything, and I would say a little bit more. And yeah, so that's the improvements that I think could be made for this. So anyways, lessons learned. Definitely not everything translates from the GitHub Actions to Argo workflows. So like, building your own environments, installing dependencies. So you have like actions setup go, actions download artifact are just some examples. So basically you need to kind of look at those or just like create your own, which I did, commands in the shell or whatever container you're running. So yeah, that was a little bit tricky, but at the same time, not too bad. So yeah, and then having like this one environment runner in GitHub Actions, yeah, you just have like the separate pods for each task, which is good for like separating specific tasks. But at the same time, like if you have any shared dependencies, then it's like you gotta reuse them somehow, or you have to reinstall them. So yeah, slightly frustrating, but not too bad. And then yeah, don't run end-to-end tests on a local machine. They will fail quite often. Yeah, GitHub webhooks. Yeah, you can't pass those to the workflow event binding that I've found. If somebody else knows, I would be really interested in that. Um, yeah, and then basically, just like more resources, CPU, memory, requests, like the faster your workflows are going to be, or the end-to-end tests, or the build, or like anything that like takes a little bit of time to run. Um, yeah, and then just like CI/CD pipelines take a lot of configuration, a lot of testing. Because these things like run all the time, right? Every push, every commit, every like merge, every whatever it is. So yeah, just really really interesting stuff. Yeah, that's my slide deck. I can't did it. I showed two videos already, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's
Nice.
but yeah, basically, yeah, it was a really interesting project. I think it's going to come in handy, especially in my new role, because I'm going to be working on pipelines. So, uh, yeah, and it was also really interesting to see like the CI behind Argo workflows as well, just to see like another example of that and how it's run and all the different pieces that are involved. Um, yeah, it's just the learning process was really, really interesting, especially having written many Argo workflows myself, um, and for different various projects. So yeah, that's my presentation. And
Cool.
are there any questions? Um, yeah,
Thanks. Yeah, great work. And thanks for getting the PR up. We'll make sure someone gets a good review on it and figure out how we can slot that into the docs. I think that would be great. So yeah, and thanks so much for this presentation. It was really informative. Any questions from folks here?
Hi, this is Ray Wong.
Hey,
Um,
Ray.
hey, Galen. Wesley, when you're building your container, are you just doing like a Docker build or are you doing like something else?
are you saying for like an individual step or?
Yeah, like when you build the container in your CI step, right? I think you shared like a picture of it running. Like, is that just like a Docker build?
So I installed Docker,
Mm,
and then I would because that's a requirement for like K3s or like K3D for
mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
to run a cluster. So it wasn't necessarily like building with Docker, but the one step that I do remember where I was actually building images, it was using BuildKit. Um,
Oh, build kit. Okay.
yeah, which was part of the requirement. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what we're using as well. So once you have the image created, how do you pass that to the CD part?
Yeah, sure. So once the image created, yeah, it's in the Docker Hub repo, and then we're passing a tag along, and then basically we grab that tested image, and then update the uh, like the manifest with that new image, then push that, and then start the Argo CD with that new image tag.
Okay, so you once you get the tag, then you update like a Git repo with that tag, and then it picks it up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And for your Git clone step, are you doing any like sort of optimizations with that, or is just like a input artifact from GitHub?
Um, yeah, I was using the build kit example on from Argo workflows, like the
Okay,
examples. Yeah, I was using that clone one, so doing like shallow clone. So a couple of things, yeah. Uh,
okay,
so not like I wasn't doing a lot of research into just cloning that kind of thing, but it seemed to work really fast for the most part. So
gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we had to like not use some of those optimizations in our workflow, so it's a little slower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To get,
Um,
is it to get like additional changes and different things?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like in our git clone step, we're also like trying to output like commit information and like branch information and like things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
So like we kind of do like extra things. So it's not like a full shallow.
Hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Are you doing any optimizations with your build kit?
Yeah, I used the one from the example. I did take out a couple of things that I didn't think were needed for just like small like commands that really weren't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, like it's I'm sure there are optimizations that could be made there for sure. But for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, I used just the example. So
Gotcha. Yeah. I did a lot of research into that, and the caching in the container registry was like pretty big, and
mm.
using Z standard compression was pretty big.
Does that bring down like the overall build time?
Yeah, caching helps a lot.
Hmm.
Like if your Docker file is constructed in like multi-stage, it's and you have it like ordered properly and you have like good Docker ignores, uh once you like run it once, like it only uh picks up like the differences. It's kind of
Hmm.
like you have a local cache but not really. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely speed things up.
Yeah. uh,
Especially because it's already a shallow clone, and then
well, you're cloning like the changes from the container registry, like Docker Hub and
right.
your instance. So like if it's already like if the layer is already cached, like
Hmm.
for example, like I don't know, like you mentioned like Go. If you have like Go dependencies and like those dependencies aren't changing, then that layer is already cached. So it should theoretically be quicker.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that would definitely save some time. I'd be interested to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Are you using Argo events at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I attempted to set up the workflow event binding, which I was able to get it to work, locally and then also in our cluster, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you have to have a Vera token, and GitHub doesn't send those. There's not really a way to configure it that I've found. So, anyways, I ended up setting up the Argo events, just the work event source, sensor and trigger, and then that triggering the workflow that way. Um,
Yeah, that's what we do.
yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not, I mean, it may not be quite as secure as using obviously a Bearer token, but yeah, I looked in a couple of different places on the Argo repo, and it sounded like somebody had set it up, but I'm not sure if they actually did. So uh, and maybe that was before. It could have been in a previous version or something like this that didn't require the token.
I'd be curious to see if the extra caching optimization would help you even beat GitHub Actions even further. So that's, yeah, that'd be cool to
Well,
see.
GitHub Actions has that I think that cache mount, which I guess like
Hmm.
it's local storage. So that's like that should be pretty quick too.
Yeah, that'd be fast.
Yeah, like the problem with caching in the registry is you still have that like network throughput, right? Because you have to like pull it from your registry.
Any other questions for Wes? I was just gonna pull up your PROS if you have it, just so folks can see it, and leave comments or reviews. I can't show that here.
Yeah,
Sec.
I think there's a couple of small changes that I need to make on there, but for the most part, it's like the main like structure of the workflow is pretty um works really well. So yeah, that was my first version. um, just with the one end-to-end test. So I can update a
Nice.
couple of things. So, but yeah, I think it sounded like that this may not necessarily go in the docs, but maybe into like a sub ArgoProj for CI or for some other type of
Yeah.
experimentations or something. Which
Yeah, we have ArgoProj Labs.
yeah,
Let's
Yeah,
see.
there's like that template repo that I don't think really gets touched.
Yeah, that one. And then
Are you doing some sort of repo yourself too for pipe kit killing?
yeah, we have our own template solution. I'm trying to remember how it's where it's labs.
yeah.
Um,
I came across an
yeah, here we
archive.
go.
I think it was like an archive Argo workflows CI from I guess a while back. But I don't. I'm still trying to figure out. And then somebody also mentioned that I guess the community is looking for like a full-fledged like CI/CD like product that would sit on top of Argo workflows, which sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I presented something similar a while back in one of these meetings using
Yeah.
Kamiko, but we switched over to build kit because it was
Mm.
Oh, nice.
faster.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't remember. That was late last year, right? You
It was a while
presented.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We can go
Um,
back through the community
yeah.
meeting notes here. Yeah. Um, yeah, thanks for adding your names, everybody. And then the talk you were mentioning, Wes, was Tim's talk, right? The dog food talk. Is that what you were mentioning around the CI for Argo?
Yes, yeah, the
Okay,
one
cool.
with the V cluster.
Yeah, with vCluster here. I
Yeah,
think
that's the one.
they got to it around here somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, vCluster. Um, cool. Yeah. Thank you, ad blocker's not on right now. But yeah, definitely check out this Dog Food Delight talk from ArgoCon North America by my teammate Tim, and then um, by Denise at vCluster as well. And this is, yeah, another good way to actually set up end-to-end and CI tests is running like a full test on a vCluster without having to spin up another cluster to do it. So that's what we do internally for our own product, and we were trying to see if we could run the full test suite for the Argo workflows project, but yeah, I ran into some challenges here. So that was a big kind of deep dive Tim did here, but similar cost per run as you,
Mm,
so pretty
yeah.
cool. So yeah, right on.
I'm trying to get a former coworker to join, but he wasn't able to today. But maybe you can do a presentation. Procore is using Argo workflows for CI, and we did a lot of similar things to what you did, Wesley. Our biggest was we couldn't use a workspace because the Docker image for the monolith app was over a gig, and moving it around
Mm,
via the file system was not pleasurable. So every PR would build a image from the feature branch. And we would daily reset the base that image was built off of. And we had to do some tweaking with build kit to do that. And then also we built a custom Go service that sat between Argo events and Argo workflows because we had to do some muddling with the data so that we could call back to GitHub to update the commit statuses. So developers would be notified for each of their Argo workflow nodes what the status was, pass or fail on GitHub. So
We
Within the
created
GitHub UI
yeah,
jam.
yep.
Yeah, cool.
we created a workflow step to do the commits back.
Yep. And I know Tim has a tool he wrote a while ago that does something similar. We were just looking for some speed because there were thousands of nodes. So
wow.
yeah, we were trying to
Um,
optimize it and getting it back through the workflow structure. We were killing the Argo workflow server.
I think if you add it to like a exit handler, it might be
I
best.
think we tried that.
Yeah.
At the time, we couldn't get that to work, and it may work now. Again, this was 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. 3.6 has up to 3.6 and 3.5. There's optimizations now. So yeah,
Mm.
but great presentation, Wesley.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to do that in the PR, and we'll find a good home for this example. Yeah, I think getting it into labs should be very doable. Ideally, we can get something in the docs that references it so that more new users who want to do CI with Argo workflows and CD can check out your example. So yeah, let's collaborate on a doc for that. That would be good. Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you in January. We'll get another agenda sent out for some more demos, and talking about upcoming roadmap. But until then, yeah, happy holidays, happy new year.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks.